Hello there and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jamie Royston Smith. I'm Senior Account Manager at TaxCalc and I'll be taking you through today's content. We'll be looking at the latest release of TaxCalc, our November update, which includes our new module, Communications Centre. So we'll unpack what that's all about in just a moment. As always, please check the release notes on our website for a full breakdown of what's included in the release, including all the updates and improvements. But at this time of year, of course, many practices will be chasing clients for vital information to compile their personal tax returns. And so with that in mind, we thought it would be really useful to show you exactly what's coming in the Communications Centre update so that you can potentially leverage some of those new features to streamline email communications in your practice and get using it very, very quickly. So you should see your software update coming through very imminently. So after the webinar, please do check your copy of TaxCalc to see if that's available to you. And I'm joined by my colleague Martin Davey from the product team. So he's Product Director for Practice Management. Martin, would you like to say hi and introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, thanks Jamie. As Jamie said, my name's Martin Davey, one of the product directors here at TaxCalc. I look after our practice management suite of products. Thank you all for coming to the webinar today. We're really excited to show you what the team's been working on.
And it's been great to see the interest build around this particular product. We've advertised it for a few months within the TaxCalc application itself on the dashboard. We hope that today's webinar will give you a better insight into what it can do. And for those of you who've pre-ordered your licenses already, thank you for that. And we hope that today's webinar will give you further insight on how to get started and leverage some of those features in a best practice way. Now, we won't be going through any Q&A, so there won't be an opportunity to go through those questions on the webinar itself. But if anything pops into your mind, then please do feel free to submit those into the GoToWebinar control panel and we'll aim to take those offline. Or, of course, you can email sales@taxcalc.com and we'll come back to you as soon as possible. So, without further ado, let's get started and take you through a little bit of the thought process behind how this new module and where we've got to today. Of course, TaxCalc has become very much a stalwart in the compliance space in the tax and accounts production world. But practice management has always been a focus for us and a statement of intent. And our vision for practices and for TaxCalc is to deliver software that really supports practices in their core operations with something that's simple and easy to use and very thoughtful. And our full practice management lineup now includes a central relational client and contact database, task management for deadline tracking, Practice Manager Plus for teams who want to manage each stage of your compliance process. We offer mail merge letter templates so that you can send mail shots to your clients. We offer integrated e-sign. You can build reports on the data that's within TaxCalc. You can record time and set up team timesheets and get some data out of the system around that. And we also have cloud-based document management and client portal via a partnership with our friends at SmartVault. So there's a big lineup of products, but there's more that we feel we can do. The pandemic has certainly changed the way that firms work, and it's become increasingly clear that all firms, whether running remotely or face-to-face, need to communicate effectively with their clients to keep work flowing. And that is only going to be amplified with Making Tax Digital for income tax self-assessment on the horizon. The reality is that you could be requesting records or disseminating information on at least a quarterly basis, potentially more. And the profession is a changing landscape, so the next generation of business owners are coming to the fold. And how do we keep pace with the communication format and style that maximises efficiencies with these clients and also creates meaningful connections as you provide your services? So with all this in mind, we set to work to improve the way that practices handle outbound communication via email as a starting point. So Martin, could you take us through some of the research and the process that's been going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, sure. So with all projects that we work on here at TaxCalc, we do look to involve our users as much as we possibly can through the development process. And with Communications Centre, that was really no different. So we started what feels like now an awful long time ago, conducting market research, user group feedback that we took in the form of customer interviews. We ran some demos with some customers as well. We sent out a survey to our customers to understand the most common challenges and pain points they have when communicating with clients. Obviously, we'd like to thank all of those that did take part in those interviews, the demonstrations that we ran, and obviously the survey as well. So a big thank you. The insights that we received from those really do help. Many of you, as Jamie mentioned earlier, may have noticed the tile added to the launcher in our summer release. And this gave us the opportunity for our customers to register their interest in Communication Centre. And again, this gave us a great insight into the enthusiasm for a product like Communication Centre. Based on the number of customers that did register their interest, the feedback that we received through the interviews and the demos that we ran and general conversations with our customers, and following some quite striking statistics in the survey that we can see there on screen, that 98% of respondents felt that a well-managed communication was really important, but actually 77% of those, so quite a large percentage, felt that there was room for improvement. So at TaxCalc, we could see that there was more that we could do to help our customers to improve their communications, and that they were actually keen for us to do that. Client communications obviously has lots of different facets, so the scope of this is quite large, but we wanted to try and make sure that we focused initially on the key priorities and the problems that we were having reported back to us through the research that we were running. Through the survey, we gave the opportunity for our customers to provide us with some feedback on the biggest frustrations that they were facing with communications. And you can see here on screen a few of those that came through to us. Generally, the themes of these were all around lack of efficiency, potentially mistakes being made, which obviously isn't great when you're trying to get information to clients, and the visibility of that communication. Again, as Jamie touched on a little bit earlier, being able to see what information is being sent out from your practice and who it's being sent out by.
Thank you, Martin. So from the first release, here are the key things we're looking to deliver with Communication Centre. So the top one there is all around improving the way that we request records from clients. Of course, that's quite a common occurrence in a modern day practice. You'll be requesting records for year-end accounts, for quarterly VAT, for corporation tax and self-assessment as well. So it's very much baked into the compliance process. Getting the information from the clients is, of course, really important to get the work done. And TaxCalc Communication Centre will help automate some of that for you in terms of scheduling particular email templates to be created or generated at a certain point in time. We can also send the same email based on a template or an ad hoc email to many clients at once. So thinking back to practices who potentially could be copying, pasting or sending the same email to many clients at once, via their mail client. Using TaxCalc Communication Centre, you can now do that in a few clicks. Of course, that can save a considerable amount of time if that's the way you've been doing things previously. And of course, these emails will be personalised to them, so it won't just be a generic mail shot. It will be very much personalised to their situation. And they'll be based on mailing lists, which are essentially filters used in the database to, identify a particular trait or variable of that client, and that can then be used to send that same email to them. We're going to give you some consistency in terms of the emails that go out to clients. So you'll be able to create your own templates, but we will be shipping the software with some ready-made ones as well, just to help. And of course, that will bring some consistency to your communications. If you have a team of people or a team of employees at the moment maybe left to their own devices to send out emails to clients, maybe you struggle with different communication styles or different formats or different ways of explaining things, and this could potentially help standardise the email communication that's going out to your clients on a regular basis. And it also gives you a little bit more control, because you'll be able to track everything that's going out. Review within the client record what's been sent to clients and when, and that should certainly help with teams teams within a firm who may need to refer to that information to see where you're up to within the process. So there is quite a bit more to it than that, but they're the key highlights, and we'll take a look in just a second. So we're going to jump into a copy of the software to take you through some best practice and some key ideas of how to get the most out of the module. So without further ado, Martin, could you first start with taking us through how to get going with CommCenter, and yeah, any call outs that may be needed around getting started?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So as Jamie touched on just a little bit earlier, the release of Communications Centre is kind of imminent. Hopefully again during this webinar you may, some of you may see the notification panel pop up with the update for you to download. Those of you that do already have a license through pre-order will be able to jump straight in. If you do have more than one user, so you've purchased license for more than one user, then there's one thing that you will need to do initially, which we'll show you now. So if we pop into Help and we go to View License Information, and then we scroll down to Communications Centre. So those with licenses will be able to access this screen. And if we pop to Manage Licenses, we need to make sure that you have your users selected within here. So those with PM Plus and Time may be familiar with this already. Those that haven't got those products, we just need to pop into here. So I'm, for example, going to add Jamie. So we select Add User, and that will then allow Jamie to have access to the features within Communications Centre. If we close that down, and then that, like I say, will allow Jamie to have access. So if you have got some users in your firm who suggest they can't access certain things, it may be worth checking that and just making sure you've set that up correctly. The second most important thing to set up is to allow TaxCalc access to one or more email accounts. So we're going to jump into Communications Centre now, and we'll be taken straight to our dashboard, and we have some widgets and some links in our dashboard which will help you for setup purposes and then for ongoing monitoring of the information within Communications Centre. So to send a message, so I'm going to jump over to Send Message just quickly. We have our From field. So we notice in here that I have an email account selected within my From field. So this email account has been set up and has been verified with SMTP configuration. So users who start using TaxCalc and don't have anything within this field, it may be that your email account hasn't yet been verified or set up. So that's something to look out for. So we're going to pop back to Communication Summary, and then we're going to focus on these widgets on the right-hand side for Office emails and user emails. So with Office emails, you can notice here the main office that I have an email account set up that has been verified, which is the one that we just saw within Send Message. And I have one user who has access to that email account. I'm going to click on the link for verified, and that's going to take me straight into Admin Center, where I can change or update the settings for that email account. If I don't have an email account set up, then I would click on Not Set, and that would take me into the same area. So if I don't have an email account set and I come over and click on Add, we're just going to enter some SMTP details within this screen. Now these details are commonly found online, but if you do have an IT team, they should be able to provide these details to you. Shouldn't be too much trouble. Once you've entered them, we would then select to email a passcode, and that will run a one-time verification to make sure that that email account allows you access. What we do have within the drop-down list at the top here are some pre-configured settings for Gmail, for Office 365, and for Outlook. And by selecting each of those, we're pre-populated with the SMTP server and the port number, just to help you along a little bit. There may be the odd occasion where these details are different because of the way that your setup is used within your practice, but hopefully that will give you just a kickstart to get that information entered. Once you've entered that information, so I'm just going to go back to the one that I've already got set up, and you've sent off your passcode, you'll receive that passcode to the email account that you're setting up. So it's sent from that email account to that email account. We would enter the passcode, select Verify, and then your email account will come through as verified. So if any information is incorrect within that screen, you'll get a prompt, and then you'll need to speak to either your IT team or have a look, like I say, online to see if there is any information that you can find on there. We will be providing some self-help So we'll have some knowledge-based articles and getting started guides that will give you some help towards entering this information, but it really is down to the provider that you use, and like I say, the information that's specific to your practice. We're going to jump back to Communication Centre, and if we did want to set up a user email, so for example, if Jamie wanted his own email account, then we could select the link for not set, and similarly that would take me into the user record where I could do exactly the same. I could select add and then pop in the details for Jamie's individual user record. The one additional thing that we need to do on a firm email address is to manage the users that have access to that email address. So you can see here I have one user. I'm going to select manage users, and again I'm going to choose Jamie and add Jamie on the right hand side and then update. So this now changes to 2 users on the screen. I'm going to finish and save, jump back to Communication Centre and refresh, and we can see that we've now got 2 users. So this is a way on an ongoing basis, again, that we can monitor the number of users that do have access. So again, if there's a member of staff who doesn't have access to this email account within the send message screen, then it may well be that they've not been added against that email account.
That's great, and I guess that's where a certain additional level of control comes from, because of course you can have multiple users accessing and sending communication from a shared mailbox, even if they don't have access to that mailbox within the mail provider itself. So you'd be able to still see the information as a record within that, which is great. Next, let's take a look at maybe a common example for using a mailing list to send an email out to a targeted group of clients. So the scenario we're going to look at in this case is self-assessment clients who have to pay on payments on account, and perhaps we'd like to send them a friendly reminder that their next payment is due in July. How would we go about that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to jump over to email templates from the menu on the left-hand side. As we mentioned earlier, we will be shipping with some default templates, which you can see that are marked with system here under the created by column. As Jamie mentioned earlier as well, you can create as many templates as you wish, and we'll go through some of those in some examples a little bit later on. For now, the template that we're going to look at is payment on account for July. So I'm going to select use template, and then we can see that this email is then pre-populated with the information from that template. I can select, as we spoke about just a second ago, the email account that I now have access to, and I'm going to choose a mailing list to bulk send this template to my clients that have a payment on account. So for demo purposes, I'm sure you'll have more than 3 clients, but we've got 3 clients selected here. We'll select choose, and the to field is then pre-populated with the email addresses for those clients. One point to note as well is by using choose mailing list and choose recipient and picking the clients through here, this then gives us a link to the client record for each of those clients. And that's important in terms of the communication activity, which we'll come on to a little bit later. You do have the option of entering a manual password within this, a manual email address within this field. But when you enter a manual email address, that won't link to the client record. So it's important to use choose mailing list or choose recipient to keep that link to your client record. Within the message body, we can see here, again, that Jamie mentioned earlier, the use of some tokens. So this allows us to send the same email to 3 clients, but not have to type the email 3 times. So I'm going to jump to preview message. I'm going to go to search recipients. And just as I flick through each recipient, we can see here that we've got the name populated, the tax year populated, the amount of payment on account, and their payment reference. If I scroll through each client, we can see the information changing for each of those clients, just to make sure that the information that's coming through is correct. Once I've done that, I can click to send, and then that should, within a few seconds, confirm that that's been successful. And again, within a few minutes, I've then reminded those clients of their payment on account for July.
Brilliant. So next, let's look at another example using a mailing list, but this time looking at utilising the filters to query the database. And let's look at even custom fields as an example of that.
Yeah, sure. So we're going to jump into mailing lists over here on the left-hand side. And I think you can notice just on this list, I have my payment on account mailing list that I just used for my payment on account template that I just sent. I'm just going to show you quickly. So if I select edit and then data mine. So this mailing list was set up for those clients that have a payment on account that is due for next July, so July 2022, that's greater than nothing. So that mailing list has been able to allow me to send out my payment on account reminder to those clients. So Jamie's mentioned here a couple of other examples. So we have a mailing list here for our tax return status. So those clients that have a tax return status that's still in the status of records requested. So we haven't yet received those records. Obviously with time ticking now towards the end of January, it may be quite important that we chase those clients. So again, we'll just go into edit, we'll go into data mine, and we'll just show you here that our data mine is set up for the tax return 2021 status of records requested.
So and that would mean those clients that you've sent a records request to but haven't received the records back from them yet.
That's right. And that's given me a number of clients here. Again, imagine that you would potentially have more clients than that, but for demonstration purposes, we have our 5 clients. I can then use that mailing list, can confirm the 5 clients, and from here, I can then go in and choose my records request for self-assessment. I can preview the message. Again, we have the use of some tokens here within the body, and I can just scroll through and make sure. So we have David, we have Ian, and we jump. So we have Martin. So we can confirm the information is correct. I can choose who I'm sending that from. And again, within a few seconds, I can send that email out. So that's an example of those that maybe do use work item status. There may be some of you that don't use work item status, and there are other ways that you can build up those lists through data mine. But for this example, that will allow you to pick up that work item status of records requested and send out that reminder to your client. So Jamie also mentioned the use of custom fields. So we have a mailing list here relating to a custom field that I've created for industry. So there may be some of you that haven't used custom fields before. So I'm just going to take you quickly into that. So we're going to go into Admin Center, and we're going to go to Applications, and we're going to go to Practice Manager and Customize Practice Manager. So down on the left-hand side here, we have custom fields, and here is the custom field that I've created earlier. If we want to create a new field, then we could give that a name, and there's a selection of options that we have, whether it be text, numbers, tick boxes, and so on, and which client types those relate to. So I'm now going to go into Practice Manager, and I'm going to go into Arleta. So within Arleta, the custom field that I've set up, I've asked to be added into the company information screen. So if we scroll down, we can see down here we have an industry field, which is pre-populated with the word construction. So if I then come back to Communications Center, and I'll just show you how the mailing list was configured. So we come into Data Mine, and I've selected the industry custom field, contains the word construction. And when I run that, that gives me 2 clients, one of which is Arleta, which obviously we just checked a second ago. And that then allows me, through that mailing list, to then send out any targeted communications to my clients who are in the construction industry. So I could, for example, again, select who I'm sending from. I may have a budget update, so there may have been some changes within the budget that relate specifically to construction. So I might have a template that I've created for that if this is a regular thing. You can see again that the clients have been pre-populated within the to field. And again, within a few seconds, I can quickly check that the names are coming through correctly, and then I can send. And that will send that email. As you can see from the list of mailing lists here, there's lots and lots of other variations, again, that Jamie touched on earlier, that we can build through our powerful data mining tool. So we have some mailing lists using year ends. We have picking up the setting for CIS contractors within the client record. We have the use of portfolio. So I'll just jump into this one. We'll go to data mine. I can see here that we're looking at the portfolio for Samantha, and that gives me just Samantha's clients. So if there are certain targeted emails that we want to send to just the clients that we act for, maybe we're going on holiday for a couple of weeks and want to let them know, then this is a good way that we can just have a list preset and be able to use that mailing list and jump into an email and quickly type that email to send out to them. We have, again, a mailing list that we can set up for our bookkeeping clients. So within the client record, you can set your bookkeeping provider. So we've got here a list of Xero clients and QuickBooks clients, clients enrolled for MTD, even those that we have a particular payment method for, so direct debit or payment by credit card. So there's lots of variations with mailing lists that we can use, and obviously sending the emails out with using those lists saves an awful lot of time without having to retype those emails over and over again.
Brilliant, thank you, Martin. And next, we'd like to look at the automation around requesting records and how that works. So could you show us how to set that up and what to look out for?
Yep, no problem. So with automation, so the one thing we'll mention with our automation settings is they will always look forward. So once we've activated automation, the automation will look at the next available trigger date. So whether that be a usual year end or tax year. So those that are hoping to purchase Communication Centre from today onwards, or those that have already purchased, once you activate automation, there may be some year ends or some periods that you aren't able to automatically generate those messages for. So again, just staying on mailing list for a second, we could set up a mailing list for those clients that have an October year end, for example. So again, if we just jump into data mine, so we have a data mine for usual year end for October, and I can then use that mailing list, and I can choose the template that we could use for automation for requesting records for accounts, and I could send that email out again just within a few minutes, so that I can request those records for periods that have already passed. So it is possible to do that for periods that you may have just missed. Automation itself. So what we're going to do is jump into Communication Summary, and then you'll see on the Communication Summary screen we have a quick link here to our automation settings. So we're going to jump into automation, and for demonstration purposes for today we're going to use request for records for accounts, but as you can see we have got other automation types here as well. Confirmation statement based on confirmation statement date, corporation tax based on your usual year end, self-assessment on your tax year, and VAT on your VAT period. So whether that be monthly, quarterly or yearly, this setting will pick up based on the setting that's set on your client. So we're going to use accounts for this example. So we're going to choose who we want to send, or we want those automated messages to be generated to be sent from. We're going to choose the template for request records for accounts. Again, the one that I've chosen here is a default template that we've issued, but you can use this as a base and create your own if you do want to change the wording of that particular template. And then again, for demonstration purposes here, we're going to set the offset for the usual year end as -6 days. So this is then going to say any clients that have a 30th of November year end, we want the system to automatically generate those request for records emails and pop them into our pending queue 6 days before the 30th of November, which obviously is today. So hopefully once I select the option here for bulk updating all of my clients, so that activation is then activating each relevant client, and we select to activate, a couple of confirmation messages. Need to make sure that we finish and save as our normal simple step processes go. And then I'm going to jump into Communication Centre, go to message activity and into pending. And we can see in the pending queue here, we've got 2 clients that on my system had a 30th of November year end, one of those being Astra accounts. So we're going to jump into Astra accounts now. And we're going to jump down to automated message settings. And we can see here that the message setting has been set automatically by me selecting that option to bulk update all of my clients. And the generation date showing as the 24th of November 2022. So that's obviously next year. So it's generated this year's within my pending queue. And this is the next date that will then be generated. So the 24th of November 2022. So basically with your automation, we're generating based on the trigger date, so with accounts, your usual year end. And that will then pop those emails into your pending queue for you to review and for you to send out when you're comfortable that that information is correct, or that you do actually need those records from your clients. There may be some clients that you've already received the records for, and even though the message has been automatically generated, you don't actually need to send that, and you can cancel that email if you already have the records. One other part of automation for those that have PM Plus is the ability to update your jobs. So we're going to jump in on Astra into our active work screen. And here we've got a job that I've created, again, for this demonstration, with just four basic tasks, but the first of those is to request the records for accounts. Just going to jump into Edit, and I'm going to go down to Tasks and Request Records for Accounts. And then we can see in our actions, so we have a new action here for Request Records for Annual Accounts email. So this action will recognize when the automated email that has been generated into our pending queue is then sent to our client. And at the point that email is sent, that will then update the relevant results that we've added for the action. So in this case here, I've asked for it to update my job status to in progress. My task status, I've asked to complete that task for records requested, because obviously that action has then been done, and to change the work status to records requested. Let me just cancel out of here. So again, as we can see here, we've got the 4 tasks. Status is currently planned, work item status is currently not set. So we're going to jump into Communications Center. If I did need to edit this email before I sent it, then I could select edit and make any changes. But again, just for demonstration, I'm just going to send that one email, confirm that I'd like that to be sent. And then within a few seconds, jump into my sent items and refresh, so I can see that that's now gone into my sent items. I jump back to Astra, and I can then see that my work item status has been marked as records requested, my job status is in progress, and the first task of those as being requested records has then been completed. If I go into update, just for completeness, I can then see that the task is completed within here.
That's brilliant. That's a fantastic way to kickstart the compliance process, and of course that's an important step because, yeah, ideally you'll be getting the information from the clients as quickly as possible, and ideally that would have no delays that were a result of you forgetting to send that request to the clients in the first place. So yeah, fantastic way of kickstarting that process. What about visibility then? How do we see what's been sent to the client when? How do we keep track of team emails that are going out, both at a top level or also at a client level as well?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So if we jump back to Communications Center for a second, because you've been seeing me jump into here with the previous scenarios that we've run through. So we have both our pending queue and our sent and cancelled queue. So those emails that are sent ad hoc, that you're sending from your send message screen, will obviously jump straight into your sent and cancelled history. So we see this, really your history here is just an audit trail and a way of you being able to find something if you're really just not sure of exactly what you've sent out. The information within here can be filtered. So for example, if I did just want to look for those emails that had a message title of preparing for accounts or for VAT return, or if I wanted to search for a particular client, then I could filter that in here. I could also filter by date and the other columns that we have there as well. So it gives you a good chance just to narrow down the information that you've been sent. Now, one thing to mention here, as I touched on earlier with our setup, is that we're sending our emails via SMTP configuration. So that allows TaxCalc to pass the information through your mail client and send that email out through your mail client itself. But all of your emails are accessible from within your mail client. So if there was a different way or a more consistent way that you wanted to monitor this information, then you can do that from your mail client if you prefer. But TaxCalc will obviously keep a record of the emails that have been sent. And if we want to see a copy of those emails, then we can click on the link here on the message column, and that will just give you a copy of that email that was sent. But the actual email itself has been sent through your mail client. So that's the history that we have of the messages that have been sent through message activity. But the more important part of our comms activity is through our client record. So as I mentioned through a few of the scenarios that I was describing earlier, it's important when you choose your recipients that you pick the mailing list or the choose recipient option so that the activity is recorded on your client record. So if we jump back to Astra, and on the left-hand menu we go to communications activity, you'll see here the important part of making that selection so that each of the activity records that have been generated come here into your communications activity on your client record. So we can see the email that I just sent through my automation, which was to prepare your accounts, which was an automated message. And again, similar to the message activity screen, I can quickly bring up a record of that email just to have a quick look if I wanted to. But also within this screen, not only do we record the activity of emails, so whether that be automated or ad hoc emails, but we're also adding into here some other activity relating to document management, mail merge, and e-sign. So we can see right down at the bottom here, we have that we generated a mail merge for that client. So when I generate a mail merge, I have the option, so there's a tick box on the confirmation screen that I can tick to say I want that to be logged within my communication activity. Because that's outside of TaxCalc, it's not something we can do automatically. We don't know that it's been sent, but it gives you the chance on generation to say that you want that to be logged in your comms activity. Similar with document management upload. So at the point that you upload that into Document Manager, there's a tick box that is ticked by default on that screen, and that will allow you to log that activity within the communication activity as well. With e-sign, the e-sign process of sending that to your client and the signing and the signature being returned, those are automated. So once that email has been sent out and the signature has been received from the client, that activity will be logged automatically within the client record. And again, within each of these, we have a hyperlink that can take you to the relevant information for each of those items of activity.
Brilliant. And I guess it's important to add there that you will need a license of Communications Centre to access these screens, whether you use it for emails, e-sign, document manager or mail merge as well. So just wanted to call that out. We mentioned mail merge there. So does Communications Centre make mail merge redundant, or is it still useful as a standalone tool?
Yes, definitely. So mail merge has lots of benefits. The process of emailing obviously can be a little bit quicker, but with email you tend to find that information is a lot lighter than you would have for a mail merge. Mail merge uses Word, and a Word document would obviously allow you to provide an awful lot of information to the client that maybe isn't just a request for a record or an update to some compliance update that you've had recently. So we definitely would say that mail merge has just as much benefit as it did previously. We have made a few small changes, so for those that have previously used mail merge, I'll jump into those now just for reference purposes, just for you to have a look at once you've updated. So if we pop first of all into Practice Manager, and then the first thing that you'll notice down here on the left-hand side is we used to have the option, the third one down, that did reference mail merge. Under mail merge, you would then select to create a mail merge that would take you through a separate simple step process. So because with Communications Centre, we needed to utilise the mailing lists. The mailing lists have been brought out into their own feature, and that allows us to take the mail merge templates themselves and pop them into Communications Centre as well. So nothing has changed in terms of the final output of mail merges, but the process of how you get there is slightly different. And we've also got a couple of additional shortcuts on the left-hand side here, straight to email templates and to send message. Client questionnaire, just for reference, hasn't changed at all. So the link here will take you through a simple step process. But I'll just jump into the mail merge template option here. And that takes me, as you can see, into Communications Centre with the option down on the left-hand side. So the list of templates we have here is the same as what you would have had previously. And again, any others that you've added will still be maintained for you to use going forward. The options that we have down on the left-hand side to import, export, and so on, again, they're still maintain the same functionality that they did previously. But the slight difference that we have now is that we're choosing a template that we want to generate, and then we're selecting to run mail merge. At this stage, we can choose who we want to send that to. We have our list of mailing lists I'll just pick one just for demonstration purposes, and we'd click choose, and that will then generate that letter within Word as it did previously, but would then pass the information for these clients through into the mail merge template for use with the mail merge tokens that some of those templates do utilise.
Great. So we've taken the opportunity to update mail merge at the same time for those customers that use that, and there's some additional tokens around addressing the client, with certain salutations and names and things like that, which have been improved at the same time, I believe, as well, which is great.
Yep, that's right. So I'll just show you quickly through email. We won't do this through mail merge, but the same tokens are available through mail merge. So we've added in, if I scroll down, so click on the tokens field on the right hand side, and we scroll down. So we've added in some tokens to be able to pick up your first name or main contact first name. So this allows us to target a mailing both through mail merge and through email to businesses and individuals. So if you have a mailing list that happens to include businesses as well, then that will pick up the first name of the main contact. But if you have an individual client, that will pick up the first name from the individual client. So that's something that we weren't able to do before. And then similarly on your main contact, so if you are targeting just businesses, we're able to pick up your main contact's first name or salutation, depending on which you prefer. So if there is a salutation that exists, it would use that. But if there isn't, then it will pick up your main contact first name. So yeah, there's a couple of extra tokens that we've added, and like I say, they're for use with both mail merge and in email.
Perfect, thanks Martin. So what about emailing a client ad hoc from within a piece of work? Let's say you're submitting or preparing a set of accounts and you realise that there's some information missing. You want to then request that information from the client straight away. Is there a quick way that we can do that?
There is indeed, yep. So again, we're going to use Astra as an example. And I'm just going to jump into accounts production here from the cog on the right hand side, just into a set of accounts. This is available within each of the items of work, so tax, accounts, and within your forms, even in the client record, you have the same option. So we're just going to jump to the cog on the right hand side, and with all of the other options that we've had previously, we can add a client note and so on. We have the option now to send client message. So it may be that, as Jamie said, you're in the middle of preparing the set of accounts, you've noticed that either there's a figure you're not too sure of or some information that you need, and you just want to send them a quick message. So I choose who I want to send that from. So it's pre-populated with the default email address for that client. I might have a template. So for this example, I have created just a kind of a light template for a client query where I could pre-populate that with the information that I need. I could jump to preview message just to make sure that it is populating with the main contact details. And then again, within a few seconds, I could send that query out to that client, and that will be added to the client record for reference purposes going forward.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And I think the benefit of that really is the fact that you can have all of the history of communicating with your client within the client record in one central place. I imagine some practices may struggle to really look up emails that have been going out to clients that are involved with the compliance process. So I think it's great to have that all within one place. Finally, how about sort of drafting an email to be sent later? I imagine practices get very busy at certain times of the month, and perhaps you want to work on a particular email to be sent for a future date and time.
Yeah, sure. So we're going to jump back to Communication Centre for a second. And again, you might have noticed when I was running some of the scenarios before that down in the bottom right hand side, we have this option down here for send later. So as an example, if I'm generating an email, so I know who I want to send it from, I'm going to choose a mailing list. So maybe in my examples earlier, I mentioned about Xero. So maybe Xero have announced a price update, or there's a change to something within Xero that I need to let my Xero clients know about. I can choose my Xero mailing list. That will pre-populate my clients here. I might have a template, or I could just type an ad hoc email, but here I've just got a template for any Xero update that I want to add. But I don't know exactly the final detail of that, so I might just want to send that a little bit later, but I do know that I need to send it. So I can select send later, so maybe it's let's say next Tuesday, so the end of the month, and we'll click save. So that's then stored a copy of that email. If I pop into message activity, into my pending queue, and refresh, So for my Xero clients, I then have those emails that can be sent out in bulk. So I may want to just filter that list to Xero update, and then I could bulk send and then send all of those emails out once I'm happy that that information is correct.
That's great. Thank you so much, Martin, for taking us through those examples. I hope that's been a useful whistle-stop tour of the Communication Centre in TaxCalc. And just a little bit of information to finish. You will be able to activate your licenses straight away, so please do head to the TaxCalc website if you would like to do so. In terms of cost for the new module, we're coming to market at £45 per user per annum. So yeah, just a bolt on to your existing TaxCalc licenses really to enable all of this additional functionality. And if you have further questions, please do submit those to sales@taxcalc.com, and again we'll get onto those as quickly as possible. But if you would like to activate your licenses, head to the website now and you'll get your software update very, very shortly. But that's it for the webinar today. So thank you very much for everyone's attendance. And yeah, from Martin and myself, again, thanks a lot for tuning in. And we hope to see you on a future webinar soon. But thanks everyone and have a great afternoon.